Welcome to the Phil Steele Plus Tour. Yep, got it up early again this week on Thursday, October the 26th. This one's good through Saturday, October the 28th, naturally. And the tour has been doing quite well. How about 11-3 the last 3 weeks on the selections? Another 4-1 week last week. And the only loss last week, Auburn plus 6.5, lost by a half point. And last week, the quick hitters, a nice 3-1. Giving an overall 7-2. Today, I've got 4 selections for you, 4 more quick hitters. I've got an NFL selection for you, and later we'll have some FCS. I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's jump right in, huh? The last 4 weeks HEG Game of the Week. Now, last week, it was Boston College, plus 5 over Georgia Tech. Boston College, a convincing victory. Let's hope we've got the same thing rolling for us this week. As you can see, we got Washington State on the left, Arizona State on the right. I've got my team pages set up. I always put the home team on the right, the visitor on the left. Makes it easier for me. And speaking of the home team, let's take a look at a couple of things in this series. First of all, in this series, we're going to click right here. If you click on the team name under schedule, remember the purpose of this tour is to get you to use Phil Steele Plus to its fullest. This is the site that I have poured hundreds of thousands of dollars of man hours into, keeping everything updated for me. And I opened up the doors for you a couple years ago that you get the same site that I use for all my handicapping. But let's take a look at the Arizona State-Washington State game. And over here, once again, if the word is win, that means that the home team won straight up. If the color is green, that means the home team covered. Makes it really easy. You don't have to look at the score of the game. You don't have to look at the site. You can tell right here that the home team is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 4. The home team is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 2 the last 11. So it figures because Washington State, generally cold, especially in November. Arizona State, generally warm. You've got 2 completely different climates. You would think the home team does well. And here, the home team is 9-2 ATS the last 11, 14-4 ATS over the last 18 games. Let's take a little bit closer look at last week's Arizona State game against Washington. Washington, one of the powers in the country. And if you take a look at the box score, and remember, what I do on Saturdays or on Sundays, I go through the box score of every single game, the play-by-play of every single game. I've just watched them all. I've got my 12 TVs on. I've watched all the games on Saturday, but now I go through the play-by-play as well. And what I want to point out here is this is a game Arizona State was winning 7-6. And in the fourth quarter, they actually had the ball up 7-6, and they had the opportunity. It was 4th and 3. You can go down here and get the play-by-play of every game. In fact, let's go to it while we're down there. So we take a look here. It's 7-6, and Arizona State has the ball. It's 4th and 3 at the Washington 12. They pass up the field goal. They opt to go for it on 4th down. Borquez is not only intercepted, but Powell returns it 89 yards for a touchdown. That really was the key play of the game last week for Washington. And in fact, if you look here, Arizona State outgained them 341-288. They had a 20-17 first down edge. So you get the box on every game. You can go through the play-by-play of every game with Phil Steele Plus. Now let's take a look at how Arizona State's doing in the Pac-12 this year. And with Phil Steele Plus, you can click right here on the Phil Steele Plus menu, and that should take us there. And you come down here to the logs. We've got college ATS logs for every game. Click on the logs. Let's look at Arizona State and Pac-12 play. Now, the wins and losses does not mean if they won or lost the game. You could tell that by the score of the game. You could tell that over here when you look at the colors green and red. That tells you whether or not they won the game. That refers to the spread. So in Pac-12 play, Arizona State's actually 4-0 against the spread. You got to like that. And Washington State, meanwhile, was 0-2 their last 2 games against the spread. Let me get Arizona State back over here for a second. Washington State last week benefited from this. If we take a look at the box against Oregon, it is, you go to the end of the game, well, you could see it right up here. I won't even have to go through the play-by-play. 52 seconds left in the game. Washington gets a touchdown to only lose by 14 last week. Oregon was actually covering 38-16, and Washington State got the backdoor cover with 52 seconds left. So two games where the final score is not indicative of the game. Arizona State actually outplayed Washington, and Washington State could have not covered last week, so you got that going for you. And then the one thing that just jumped out to me, and this is the one thing that I like, the green and red really helps. But look at this. Arizona State, they are 1-6. They're a poor team, right? They stink. But look at this. They are not. They are holding opponents to 92 yards per game below their season average. Guys, that's number 11 in the country. And that includes giving up 535 yards to USC. So they are holding opponents to 332 yards, 92 yards below their season average, number 11 in the country, and they were a 1-6 team. They are not a 1-6 team. So I like that. And here's our final factor here. And by the way, the last 4 weeks AGG has Arizona State 104 and has Washington State 100. So actually the last 4 weeks AGG says Arizona State wins this game by 7.8. Top it all off, Washington State is a 6-point favorite on the road here. So now let's take a look at how the teams have done in conference play. Arizona State is plus 18 yards per game. Washington State is minus 124 yards per game. Much like last week when we went with Boston College, I think the wrong team is favored here. We're going to take Arizona State plus 6 over Washington State as your last 4 weeks AGG game of the week. Don't be surprised if it's an outright upset. Wouldn't be an upset in my mind. Speaking of wrong team favored, I do a weekly show on College Sports Now with Stephen Hartzell and Wayne Cook. Love doing the show with those guys. One of my favorite half hours of the weekend every week. This week we went 40 minutes. Talked about all the top 25 games. If you get a chance, check it out because I do talk about every one of the top 25 games. And they also uncovered the fact that I might be a Swiftie, but check that out for that forecast to learn more about that. But let's talk about this one because it's my Stephen Hartzell game of the week. On that one, Stephen always asks me for a game at the end of it, and I haven't given him a lot this year, but he loves it when I pick out a MAC game, and we're going to pick one out here this week. But I said, you know what, Stephen, I'm not going to go in-depth as to why I like Eastern Michigan over Western Michigan. The only thing I'll say is the wrong team is favored in this game, and left it at that, and told the folks on that to tune in here and check it out. So let's talk about it more in-depth here. First of all, you've got an Eastern Michigan team that on the season is 4-4 against a Western Michigan team that is 2-6, and you've got the fact that Eastern Michigan's actually a dog in this series. Now, let's take a look a little bit closer at the series. Once again, when you click on the opponent right here, the series pops up. Look at this. Eastern Michigan has actually been an underdog the last 5 years. Not only have they covered all 5, and once again, explaining this, if the color is green, that means the team won the game. You could tell by the score, but that just makes it easier. You could just glance with your eyes and see that they've won the last 4 games. If the color is green here, that means they covered the game. And you could see here, they have actually been an underdog 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight in this series and are 6-0-1 against the spread. Now come out to this column here. Upsets. They have pulled 4 straight outright upsets. They've got 7 upsets in this series the last 12 years. So when Western Michigan's been favored, Eastern Michigan covers. When Western Michigan's been favored, Eastern Michigan wins outright. The wrong team is favored here. You've got an Eastern Michigan that, as a dog, has pulled 4 straight upsets in the series. But there's more. You guys know. You won with Eastern Michigan last week. I gave that to you against Northern Illinois. Last week, I told you how I love them as an underdog, blah, blah. Look at the game. I followed this game. I watched the game. And guess what? They never once trailed against the spread. They were getting 12 last week. Remember that, guys? We used Eastern Michigan plus 12.5 as my angle game of the week. And look at this. It was 7-7. Eastern Michigan led 10-7. It's 10-10. Eastern Michigan led 13-10 in the fourth quarter. Northern Illinois tied it. Northern Illinois finally got ahead with a touchdown with 1:11 left to win by 7, but the spread was never in doubt. Eastern Michigan played a really good game. And now if we take a look here, the last 10 years straight up in ATS results. Now you've got this box up here. You see this straight up in ATS? That box is in your magazine. But we expand it all the way down here. And the one thing I want to show you is as a conference underdog, Eastern Michigan, 4-0, 3-2, that's 7-2, 10-4, 13-4, 15-5, 18-5-1, 24-6-1 as a conference underdog. And then add in this year, they are 2-0. Once again, you could go take a look at the logs. I won't take you back there, but go to the logs, look it up. You can see the logs, and you can see as an underdog, they're 2-0. So 26-6-1 as a MAC underdog. Now let's take a look at Western Michigan as an away favorite in conference play. Conference favorite. Now we want conference away favorite. Here they are. This is 2-2-1, 3-2-1, 3-4-1, 4-5-1, 4-8-1 as a conference away favorite is Western Michigan. It's the first time they've been favored as an away favorite this year. So 4-8-1 as a conference away favorite, 26-6-1 ATS at home. The underdog is one, or Eastern Michigan is one outright as an underdog. And then let's go to the Phil Steele menu. This is my special teams game of the week as well. And we update this all season long. So if you're looking for special teams ratings, you got them right here. Just click on it. Eastern Michigan's number 4 in my special teams ratings. Let's look where Western is. Western is way down here at number 131. So you've got a massive special teams edge here. You got an Eastern Michigan team that's 4-4 playing on their gray field against a 2-6 team. And we're the underdog. It's the wrong team favorite. Hi, Steven. How you doing? It's my Steven Hartzell game of the week. It is Eastern Michigan +3 over Western Michigan. And now let's take a look at, I'd like to throw some specials out to you guys from time to time. I've got a really good special for you this week. And here it is. It's Phil Steele Plus. I show you every week how to use Phil Steele Plus. You've been winning with these Phil Steele Plus things, but wouldn't you like to do this work yourself? Now, Phil Steele Plus is a great value at $99 for the year. I'm not dropping that price. It's going to be $99 the rest of the year. But for you guys that take the tour, I'm really happy. The tour's been doing great. We're 43-28 the last 14 weeks. The picks are winning. I'm happy. I want you guys to use this site, and I want you to get it affordable. Maybe for $99 might seem a little high for you, but right now, this week only, and I'm not going to offer this next week. I'm not going to offer it 2 weeks from now. This price is not going to be available anywhere. And if you go to Phil Steele Plus to sign up, or Phil Steele, it's $99. But for you guys this week and this week only, just $29 for the rest of the year of Phil Steele Plus. Now, there's 16 weeks of football left, all the way through the Super Bowl. $29 for 16 weeks is $1.81 per week. Can you afford that, to be able to have all this information at your fingertips? If you go to Phil Steele, go to the store. Let's click here, store. And when we get there, it takes a second or two here. Come on, store. Phil Steele Plus, click on that. See how it's $99? Type in the code word TOUR Plus. For $29, you will have access to Phil Steele Plus through the rest of the year. 16 weeks through the Super Bowl, $1.81 per week. Can you afford that, guys? It's Tour Plus, and that, once again, I'm not offering this next week. I'm not offering this week after that. This is a one-time special. It's because I'm super happy the tour is doing so well. Just $29 gets you 16 weeks of Phil Steele Plus. Once again, Tour Plus. If you missed it, come back and watch the video over again and get that. All right, now let's get back to the games. We're going to go to my series history play. And once again, we're going to click on Phil Steele Plus. We're going to click over here, Phil Steele Plus. I like to put the visitor on the left, so we are going to put Tennessee on the left here. And we're going to put the home team on the right, so we're going to put Kentucky on the right over here. And this is my series history play, so we're going to take a look here. Tennessee against Kentucky. Once again, we've got a team that does extremely well. Look at this. There are 22 or 26 years here. Let me see what the 26 years comes out to. Tennessee is 23-3 straight up. They have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are 20-6 against the spread, or 24-7 against the spread in the series, but 23-3 straight up. In Lexington, they are actually 18-2, so they travel well. They won here at Kentucky and covered. Won at Kentucky and covered. They lost here at Kentucky but covered. Won at Kentucky. You could go back and see it. And then once again, the beautiful thing about this, you could go all the way back right here, when you click on the last 40-plus years results, this takes you all the way back to 1976. You go all the way back there, and you can see that even then, at Kentucky, they covered. At Kentucky, they won. I could go and show you each and every one, but this at your fingertips on every team. And that's the beautiful thing about the Phil Steele Plus for the $29. You get all this, the logs, you get the series history, you get this updated in red and green each week, and we've got a pretty good Tennessee team. So this is my series history play. Tennessee is -3.5. They do well here in Kentucky. How'd they do last year against Kentucky? Well, we look at this one a little bit closer. They had a 422 to 205 yard edge. They won the thing 44-6, a 1914 first down edge. So Tennessee just obliterated Kentucky last year. They are the better team. They're 11-2 on the road in this game since 1992. And remember last week, now we used Bama on the tour as the revenge game. I wasn't too happy at the half, guys. Tennessee had a 20-7 lead, a 275, 133-yard edge. Yes, Bama dominated the second half, but actually for the game, Tennessee had the yardage edge, 404 to 358. So they really impressed me last week because I thought Alabama was in a great situation, should blow them out. They did cover for us. Once again, one of the reasons I'm happy, I've talked to you about games that have gone against me. That game went for me last week. We got the fumble return for a touchdown. Thank you. We got the cover, part of the 7-2 week for the tour last week. But Tennessee did impress me. So I think you have the better team on the road with the series history here. The AGG for this game says Tennessee's playing at 116.3 level right now. And the AGG for Kentucky says 97.9. So let's add 3 to them. They're playing at 100.9. That means the AGG is calling for Tennessee to win this one by 14.4. And then we could take a look at the schedule. And once again, you've got your schedules updated right here. Now, they change during the season because it's only this schedule only takes you through the games that have been played. And when we go here to the strength of schedule, we can see that Tennessee checks in at number 21, and Kentucky checks in at number 76. So Tennessee's played the much tougher schedule. They are the better team in the AGG. Josh Heupel is 16-7 as a favorite, so I like that. And we can click over here. This doesn't go check your magazine out. Look at Josh Heupel as a favorite, but here you can see as a favorite last year they were 8-2, 3-2. So in his years at Tennessee, they've been doing good. Overall, he is 16-7 as a favorite. They played the tougher schedule, and let's see what this one says. Kentucky is 7. Okay, and then the Bama game last week. So we got a lot of good things going for us. Oh, and under the average game grades, Kentucky is actually the number 10 team in the average game grades. Tennessee is. Kentucky's number 74 in my average game grade. So you've got the better team. You've got the series history. Your series history play is Tennessee -3.5 over Kentucky. All right, I got another series history play, and you're going to find this one interesting because right now, Oklahoma is a 9.5 or 10-point favorite. And why is that important? Well, the amazing thing here is if we look at the series history, now it's no doubt Oklahoma's dominated this series history. They've won 18 in a row. But if you go back and take a look at each of these scores in the last 18 years, they've won by a remarkable average. Unfortunately, I didn't figure that out last night. I should have. The average score is well over 9.5 or 10. But they have not won a game by less than double digits in this span. 18 years, they have not won by less than 10. And they're laying 9.5 or 10. I got Oklahoma -9.5 right now. So I like that. It is definitely a series history play. When you look at the AGG, Oklahoma comes in number 3 in the country, 121.2. Kansas is number 39, 104.7. If you add these 3-point home edge, that's 107. You're looking at 2.3. You're looking at 2.3. So that would be about Oklahoma as the AGG has them by 13.5 in this game. So the AGG agrees taking Oklahoma. If you look at Kansas in Big 12 play, they are -88 yards per game. Oklahoma is +56 yards per game. Oklahoma's taking on the tougher schedule. I could go show you, but look up the schedule yourself. Oklahoma's taking on the 18 schedule. Kansas taking on the 57 schedule. And then take a look at the first 4 drives of that Oklahoma UCF game. They're coming off the big win against Texas. Everybody's patting them on their backs. And then they jump out in this game. And in the first 4 drives, let's go take a look a little bit closer. Let's look at them. UCF opens up going 3 and out. Oklahoma goes 3 and out. UCF 3 and out. Oklahoma drives down the field, misses a 38-yard field goal. UCF goes 3 and out. Oklahoma drives down the field, and this time they score a touchdown. UCF goes 3 and out. Oklahoma goes on a long drive, 12 plays, miss a 43-yard field goal. So 3 long drives, missed 2 field goals. They could have been up huge. UCF had 1 first down their first 4 drives. Very misleading. They were only up 7-0, and it came back to bite them. I got to think that this time they step on the throat a little bit and don't let it come back to bite them. This is an Oklahoma defense that's holding opponents to 66 yards per game below their season average. Kansas allowing 34 above. I'm going to take Oklahoma minus the 9.5 or 10 as your series history play number 2. So we've got 4 official selections this week. Arizona State plus the points. Eastern Michigan plus the points. Tennessee minus 3.5. Oklahoma minus 9.5. I got one more special for you. Once again, I'm just feeling happy because of the way the tour's been doing. And so I'm going to throw this Inside the Press Box special out for you just this week, just for you guys for taking the tour. I appreciate, we've got a couple thousand people that take the tour every week. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. The Inside Press Box special right now, you get college-only regular season's $149, NFL-only regular season $149, postseason is $89. That's every bowl game, every playoff game. And then Phil Steele Plus $99 for the year. So it's $486. Right now you get the pigskin package, which is all of that for $249. That's all the way through the Super Bowl. But if you use the code, if you go there on the tour or on the store and go to the pigskin package, which is $249, type in Phil Steele Tour, your price $119. That's the rest of the year, guys. I'm not going to repeat that price again next week. Once again, it's this week's special. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling happy with my best bets on Inside the Press Box are 8-1 the last 2 weeks. The Phil Steele Tour is doing great, and so I'm just discounting it down. I want you on board for the rest of the year, all the way through the Super Bowl. $119. That's over half off. You've got to type in Phil Steele Tour. That's for the pigskin package only. All right, let's get to your quick hitters for this week. And your quick hitters, we've got. Kansas State is hosting Houston. I was impressed with Kansas State last week. I studied that game, and I'm like, I like K-State to win it. I don't know about laying 7.5. They just dominated TCU. They're not playing TCU. They're playing Houston. So let me click Houston in over there. We got K-State on the right and Houston on the left. This is a K-State team that has been dominating as a home favorite. In fact, let's take a look at your home favorite here. Home favorite, 5-1. They are currently 8-1 as a home favorite. So that's got to go back to this year. If you look at them, covered against Southeast Missouri, covered against Troy, UCF. I'm not sure if they covered. They covered that game as well. They covered against UCF and they covered against TCU. So 8-1 is the current run for Kansas State this year. Let me just double check that. I'll check the logs without taking you all the way back there. Kansas State against UCF. Yeah, they did cover. Well, if they were 5-1 last year, that's actually 9-1 against the spread as a home favorite, not 8-1. So I like that even better now since they covered against TCU. You're talking about 9-1 against the spread as a home favorite. They take care of business at home. This is a team that, you know, the interesting thing was Coach Kleiman's comments after this win against TCU. They won 27-3 at the half with a 416, 122-yard edge. And after the game was over, he said, well, I wasn't happy about the second half. We didn't really put them away. They only won 41-3, but I love those comments out of a coach. Now you take a look at Houston last week against Texas, and you know I showed you the other game. Look at this: Houston was down 21-0 against a Texas team coming off that big game, and then Texas just didn't put them away. They could have put them away. They didn't put them away. Kleiman says they will put teams away. They're 9-1 against the spread as a home favorite. So my quick hitter here. Oh, and by the way, in Big 12 play, Kansas State is plus 83. Houston is minus 83 yards per game in Big 12 play. They're giving up 468 yards per game. Look at the red over here, giving up 4.6 yards per carry. Look at how they're running. And look at the quarterbacks. They switched. I don't know if you guys know this, but Will Howard has been an excellent quarterback last year and this year. and he's having a great year. He's got a 12-7 ratio. But Avery Johnson, check your magazine. You're going to find out he's a PS number 9, which means he was unusually to get here at PS number 9. They started using him now. They took the red shirt off. They're going to play him. Ran for 90 yards and 5 touchdowns. Ran for 73. They got a two-headed monster at quarterback that's tough to stop. They'll put points on the board in the second half. And in the second half, when you go to your backup quarterback's Avery Johnson, who's fighting for a starting spot. He's going to score touchdowns. So I like those factors all rolled in. A quick hitter, we're going to take Kansas State minus 17.5 over Houston. Quick hitters, once again, solid week last week at 3-1. Another quick hitter, and Auburn's been disappointing. They've lost selections. We haven't had very many losers, 11-3 the last 2 weeks. Auburn's actually been 2 of those losers. So I didn't make them a selection this week, guys, because take Auburn away and we're 11-1 on the selections. But Auburn lost by a half point last week, and here's what I like about them. And it's something that we did with San Jose State, and I'll talk about San Jose State in a minute. But you remember I said if you played a bunch of tough teams and the schedule gets weaker, all of a sudden you play better? We'll get to San Jose State in a minute. But look, A&M, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss. They've played 4 of the top teams in the SEC. And last week they lost by a half point. Georgia, they played within 7 points at home. And as mentioned last week, at home, they average 409 yards per game. On the road, 241. We're at home. We're in Jordan-Hare. We're off a loss. We absolutely need a win. Mississippi State doesn't have their quarterback, Will Rogers, and only had 205 yards offense and 10 first downs last week, but got the win over Arkansas. Now, Arkansas had played a similar gauntlet of teams. However, Arkansas didn't have a bye. They were a beat-up team. Auburn had a bye 2 weeks ago, so we are not as beat up as Arkansas was coming off the gauntlet because we had this bye, and we played Georgia really tough as well. So this is a must-win game for Auburn. They're at home, minus 6.5. This is the same Mississippi State team that lost at South Carolina by 7. In SEC play, they are minus 83 yards per game, giving up 72% completions. Just like the step down in schedule, the fact we had a bye 2 weeks ago. And remember, last time here, 2021, you got the halftimes on every game right here. I do these halftimes. I chart every halftime all day long on Saturday, and they're right here. But if we take a look back in 2021, I believe it was the last time that they hosted Mississippi State, Auburn led 28-3. It was 28-10 at the half, and they ended up losing that game. So they won't let up this week. Add it all up, a quick hitter. We are going to go back to Auburn again, minus 6.5 over Mississippi State. They almost covered last week. I think they get it done this week. Now, what I was talking about in that step down is what we used with San Jose last week. Let's go put San Jose. Now, San Jose is a visitor, so we're going to put Hawaii on the right. We're going to take San Jose and put them on the left over here. All right. San Jose played USC, Oregon State, Toledo, the best team in the MAC, Air Force, undefeated, Boise State, the second best team in the Mountain West. And then they took a step down. And they actually trailed at the half and then blew out New Mexico. And then last week they blew out Utah State, 42-21. So now they're playing Hawaii on the road. And I got to think, when you look at the rest of their schedule, this is a team that could very well win out. Keep your eyes on San Jose State. They've got Chevin Cordero. They've got Robinson. They've got a defense that's holding opponents to 23 yards below their season average this year. It's a quality San Jose State team. And now the schedule's getting softer. Look for them to finish well. Meanwhile, Hawaii cannot run the football, 58 yards per carry, 2.5. Cannot stop the run. They're giving up 230 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, 69% completions. Their defense is allowing opponents 44 yards per game above their season average. They lost in Mountain West play. They have lost all their games so far. I like San Jose State minus 10.5. We're going to ride them every week. I'll use them again next week if they cover this week against Hawaii, and I believe they will. You know how I feel about streaks. When you play on a streak, you can win many times, and guess what? You lose once. I love that on streaks. All right, let's get to your final one this week, and it's James Madison against Old Dominion. And this James Madison team, we talked about it with Stephen Hartzell and Wayne Cook. Actually, we talked about it on my Thursday show, also on College Sports Now, where I actually do a TV show each week with Tripp and Kyle, and we talked about having a Phil Steele Bowl for the teams that aren't eligible for a bowl game this year. Now, I think the NCAA is going to change their mind, But right now, James Madison is not eligible for a bowl game. Look at what they've done. 7-0. They thumped Marshall last week. Granted, Marshall didn't have Rasheen Ali at running back, but they have a defense. Look at this defense. Have you seen this? I remember, I think on the Phil Steele Plus tour, I believe it was 2 years ago, there was an FCS team that had a defense like this against the run, and we used them every week, and they were winning for us every week. Remember that? But this is amazing. They are giving up 36 yards per game on the ground, 1.2 yards per carry. You cannot run the ball on James Madison. So ODU, Old Dominion, the team they're taking on this week, needs to really run the ball to be effective. They've had a sort of an average pass game. They're only completing 54% of their passes. They're not going to be able to run the ball. So James Madison will tee off. And here's the number that jumps out at me. You want a green-red? This green-red jumps out at me. They have 34 sacks. And last week, Jalen Green, 5 sacks. And here's the amazing thing. When you look at the NCAA leaders for sacks, you won't see Jalen Green's name up there. Yet he's got 13.5 sacks. They don't list James Madison's sacks for some reason. This guy's leading the nation in sacks. They've got 34 sacks on the year, 12%. And look at ODU. They're giving up 37 sacks this year, 21.5% of the time. That's a ridiculous number. Service academies can get that number. They've got that number. So they're getting sacked 21% of the times. I'm going to put the over-under on Jalen Green sacks this week at 3.5. It's homecoming. It's at night. It's Halloween. They're going to be crazy at James Madison. It's going to be a sellout home crowd, and they are laying less than 3 touchdowns here. I'm going to take James Madison minus the points over ODU. Let me get a line on this one. I'm going to just bear with me 1 second while I find it. I think it's 20.5. Let me just double check. I'm looking at my line thing. There it is, 20. James Madison minus 20 over ODU at night. And I'm going to put the over under 3.5 sacks for Jalen Green and says he gets it this week. All right, I do have an NFL play for you this week. I rarely don't have the NFL, but we just talked about using the Phil Steele Plus for 16 weeks. We've got tons of information on the NFL. I don't talk about it because I don't watch the NFL, guys. I'm strictly college football. But a couple of things. We're going to put the Cleveland. I put the Browns on the right. They're the visiting team this week. Seattle's on the right. They are the home team. And Cleveland is on the left. They are the visitor. Now, you've got the same stats that you do. Green, red. You can see running the football, defense. You can see that Seattle's giving up allowing teams 8 yards per game above their season average. The Browns holding opponents, number 1 in the NFL, holding their opponents to 88 yards per game below their season average. You can get individual stat leaders. Yes, I know. I don't follow it, but Deshaun Watson will not be playing this week. They're going to go back to P.J. Walker. But guess what? P.J. Walker owns wins over San Francisco and Indianapolis. With that defense, with that run game that they have, they've been playing extremely well. But a couple things I want to point out about the NFL. Let's go to the Phil Steele Plus menu. And when we go there, come on, menu. There it is. Click on NFL information. Let's start with here. The NFL strength of wins, pain of losses. Now, what this does is if you beat an opponent, you get credit for every win they have. If you lose to an opponent, you get credit for every loss they have. So who's the best teams in the NFL right now? Well, in this metric, Kansas City, Philadelphia, expect them. Look at this, Jacksonville, 17-4. I may have to start looking at them. Cleveland is 13-4. So they have beaten teams that have won 13 games this year. The teams they've lost to have lost 4 games all year. Seattle's down here at 8-7. The teams they beat, even beaten Detroit, they've only beaten teams that have won 8 games this year, and they've lost to teams that have lost 7 games this year. So that factor says Cleveland's a better team. Then we take a look at the average win-loss right here, the opponent's offense and defense averages. Philadelphia, Miami, Detroit, Kansas City, Baltimore, you expect all them. Look at this. Cleveland's number 6. They're plus 73 yards per game. Meanwhile, Seattle is minus 23 yards per game. Now, showing you how I don't follow the NFL, be honest with you, I was working on college, going through the play-by-play of every game on Sunday, and I'm watching the Browns game last week. I'm not watching it. I got it behind me on the TV with no volume on, so I'm not even listening to the volume on the game. But I turned it on because it was the fourth quarter, it's 5 minutes to go, and they're driving with a chance to win the game. And I actually see this a sack, a fumble, and Indianapolis recovered. So I shut the TV off, and for the next 4 hours, I actually thought the Browns lost that game. Didn't even realize that there was a penalty called on the play. They went in and scored the touchdown and won it. So it shows you how much. I think I watched 6 plays last week of the NFL. They were all Browns plays. They were the last part of the drive. But add it all up, we're actually going to throw a play here on my hometown Browns. Cleveland plus 3.5 over Seattle. And keep in mind, when you're doing the NFL playoffs, you've got this, you've got the players. If you're doing fantasy football, you could click back and take a look at how the players did against a team last year in fantasy football. We've got game by games broken down for every single one. Now let's talk FCS. And unfortunately, they don't have FCS lines up. I'm putting this up on Thursday. There's no FCS lines. So, Chris, as soon as they post FCS lines, we'll be talking FCS football. What Todd's going to do, one thing I didn't mention, and something you do have to check, and I did forget about it. Don't forget to check out the schedule on Phil Steele Plus each week. Tons of best bets. If you want to find out how to use this. Now, Kevin does a tremendous job updating this for me each and every week. I thought I was going to have to be spending hours doing this. Kevin spends hours doing this. But you click there, and this tells you how each category is graded. I added this 2 weeks ago, put it in there. It tells you how a best bet's formed, how the things have done. And then what you can do is just click back here, go to it. The records are updated. Look at this revenge. 28-7 on the year for the revenge file. How about that? 28-7. It was 24-5 last week, went 4-2. 28-7 for the revenge plays. And there's a bunch of revenge plays again this week, but all the best bets are updated each week. They're all in green here, and you can use that on Phil Steele Plus. Don't forget to get that special there. But I do want to thank Kevin for updating that, and to let you know, Todd will attach the FCS file to the end. So mark down what time you're on here, and I will let you know on Twitter or X. Follow me at 042, Phil Steele 042, and I'll let you know when the FCS is up. It'll be added to it, and you can watch it then. So, but these are the main plays. We got 4 selections, 4 quick hitters. Let's have a week like we've done these last couple of weeks. 11-3 the last 3 weeks. Thank you for taking the tour with me, and hopefully I'll be talking to you in a couple of minutes with the FCS when Todd gets it added.